Welcome to News Beacon, your trusted source for breaking headlines, global insights, and sharp analysis from around the world. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. For decades, the US dollar has been the world's money, a symbol of trust and stability that transcends borders and cultures. No matter where you go, from bustling city markets to remote rural outposts, the dollar is recognized and accepted. It's more than just paper. It's a passport to global commerce. The dollar powers global trade like a universal fuel for every economic engine, making it the lifeblood of international business. Every day, trillions of dollars move across continents, connecting buyers and sellers, producers and consumers, in a seamless web of transactions. When Brazil sells coffee to Japan or Saudi Arabia sells oil to South Korea, prices and payments are almost always in dollars. This common language of trade simplifies deals, reduces risk, and ensures everyone is on the same page, no matter their native currency. This system gives the US a unique advantage, cheaper borrowing and immense influence over international finance. The world's demand for dollars means the US can finance its debt at lower costs, while American banks and companies enjoy unparalleled access to global markets. Central banks worldwide hold vast reserves in dollars, making it the ultimate rainy day fund for nations. In times of crisis, countries turn to their dollar reserves to stabilize economies and reassure investors. As of mid-2025, the dollar still makes up 58% of global reserves and is involved in nearly 90% of all currency trades. Its dominance is so entrenched that even rivals rely on it for their own stability. The dollar underpins SWIFT, the global financial messaging system, giving Washington the power to cut off countries from international trade. This reach extends far beyond US borders, shaping the rules of the global economy. This control has been a cornerstone of US foreign policy, projecting American influence worldwide. From sanctions to aid, the dollar is a tool of both diplomacy and deterrence. But as the dollar is used as a tool for political leverage, more nations are questioning its dominance. Some see it as a double-edged sword, powerful, but potentially dangerous if wielded against them. The stability that made the dollar attractive is now seen as a vulnerability, prompting a search for alternatives. Economic shifts, political tensions, and new technologies are all fueling this global rethink. New financial highways are being built to reduce reliance on Washington. Countries are investing in alternative payment systems, digital currencies, and regional alliances to protect their interests. For the first time in decades, the dollar's reign faces a serious, coordinated challenge. The world is watching closely to see if the era of one currency ruling them all is coming to an end, or simply entering a new chapter. The global push for de-dollarization is driven by a complex web of anxieties and ambitions, not just a single grievance or event. For many nations, the dominance of the US dollar in global finance has become a source of unease, prompting them to rethink their economic strategies and alliances. For countries like China and Russia, dollar dominance is a strategic vulnerability, like having your economic power switch in someone else's capital. They see their own currencies as tools to assert independence and reduce exposure to US influence. The US has weaponized the dollar through sanctions, as seen in 2022 when Russia was cut off from SWIFT and lost $300 billion in reserves. This move shocked the world, showing just how quickly access to global finance can be revoked. This sent a clear message: fall out with Washington, and your access to the global economy can vanish overnight. The fear of sudden isolation has made many governments rethink their reliance on the dollar. Beyond sanctions, US domestic instability and rising debt have made holding dollars riskier for other nations. Political gridlock and economic uncertainty in the US have only added to the sense of vulnerability. The return of aggressive US trade policies and ballooning debt in 2025 have only heightened these concerns. Countries worry that their reserves could lose value or become entangled in future disputes. Countries want sovereignty over their economic destinies, free from the political whims of a single nation. They seek the ability to make decisions that reflect their own interests, not just those of Washington. The goal isn't to collapse the dollar, but to create a more balanced, multipolar financial world, a system where influence is shared and no single currency can dictate terms for everyone else. Nations are seeking systems with more checks and balances, where economic power is widely distributed. This shift is about building resilience and reducing the risk of being caught in the crossfire of geopolitical disputes. The motivation is powerful: a world where no single nation holds all the financial cards, and where cooperation, not coercion, shapes the future of global finance. The process is slow and complex, but the desire for alternatives is stronger than ever. As nations chart their own paths, the global financial landscape is set for profound change. China leads the de-dollarization movement, aiming to elevate the yuan and reshape global trade. China encourages partners to settle trade in yuan, especially with energy exporters like Russia and Saudi Arabia. Bilateral currency swap agreements allow countries to trade directly, bypassing the dollar. By 2025, China has signed such deals with dozens of nations, building confidence in the yuan. China also champions BRICS, now expanded to include Iran, UAE, and Egypt, as a platform to challenge the Western-led financial order. However, the yuan isn't fully convertible. China keeps tight controls on money flows, making others hesitant to hold large yuan reserves. This lack of openness is the biggest obstacle to the yuan's global rise. China wants the influence of a reserve currency, but isn't ready to give up domestic control. The contradiction between global ambition and domestic caution limits the yuan's challenge to the dollar. For now, the yuan chips away at dollar dominance, but a true takeover remains distant. The BRICS bloc has floated the idea of a common currency, the unit, to rival the dollar in international settlements. The unit would be backed by a basket of assets, possibly including 40% gold and 60% member currencies. Gold backing aims to inspire confidence and signal stability, especially for developing nations wary of US policy swings. China and Russia, major gold holders, would benefit most from such a system. The goal, a neutral, stable store of value immune to any single country's politics. But creating a unified currency for such diverse economies is a massive challenge. Political and economic coordination among BRICS members is lacking, and practical questions remain unanswered. For now, the unit is more a symbol of ambition than a near-term reality. BRICS nations are investing in digital payment systems to bypass the US-dominated SWIFT network. Projects like BRICS and M-Bridge use blockchain to connect member states' financial systems directly. M-Bridge, already piloted by China, UAE, and others, enables instant cross-border transactions using central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. These platforms cut out US intermediaries, making trade faster, cheaper, and less vulnerable to sanctions. The shift is technical, not just political. Building new payment rails is happening now. As more countries join, a parallel financial ecosystem is emerging where the dollar isn't needed. This digital de-dollarization could rewire global finance faster than expected. Control of technology, not just currency, is becoming the new source of financial power. The United States' use of financial power, especially through sweeping sanctions, has dramatically accelerated the global push for de-dollarization. For decades, the dollar has been the backbone of international trade and finance, giving the US unparalleled influence over the world economy. The 2022 sanctions on Russia, which froze $300 billion in reserves and cut the country off from the SWIFT banking system, sent shockwaves through governments and financial markets worldwide. It was a stark reminder of how quickly the US could weaponize its economic power. This move made it clear that access to the global economy is not a guaranteed right, but a privilege that can be revoked by the US at any moment, depending on its interests or foreign policy goals. For countries like China and Iran, the message was unmistakable. They could easily become the next targets. The risk of being suddenly cut off from the global financial system became a real and present danger. As a result, de-dollarization shifted from being a theoretical economic debate to a matter of national survival and sovereignty for many nations. Even close US allies now worry about the risk of secondary sanctions and the unpredictability of American policy, which can change with each new administration. The Trump administration's 2025 threats of tariffs on BRICS nations pursuing a rival currency only deepened global unease, fueling further distrust and encouraging countries to seek alternatives. In trying to police the global order and enforce its will, the US has inadvertently given other nations a powerful incentive to build alternative systems and alliances. Every new sanction, every new threat, pushes more countries to seek non-dollar arrangements for trade and reserves, accelerating the shift away from US financial dominance. The dollar's centrality is its greatest strength, but also its most significant vulnerability. as overuse of this power risks undermining the very system it built. Today, the global rebellion against dollar dominance is not just a theoretical movement, it's a direct reaction to the reach and consequences of American power. Despite their united front, BRICS members are deeply divided on de-dollarization. Russia and China push for a common currency, but India and others are skeptical, fearing Chinese dominance. India prefers gradual use of national currencies, not a radical leap to a new BRICS currency. The group's diverse economies and interests make consensus elusive. For a common currency to work, members would need to give up monetary sovereignty, something India and Brazil resist. The muted discussions at the 2025 summit highlight these divisions. While all agree on reducing dollar dependency, they can't agree on how. Until these differences are resolved, the BRICS challenge to the dollar remains more symbolic than real. Despite calls for de-dollarization, the US dollar remains overwhelmingly dominant. As of 2025, it accounts for 58% of global reserves. The euro is a distant second at 20%, and the yuan less than 3%. The dollar is involved in nearly 90% of all currency trades, making it the most practical and liquid option for global business. It remains the currency of choice for invoicing and settling international trade, especially in commodities like oil. The infrastructure and habits built around the dollar over 75 years create powerful inertia. Even with recent challenges, there's no viable alternative yet. The euro faces internal challenges, and the yuan lacks full convertibility and trust. The US financial system is still seen as the most transparent and secure. Until another currency matches these features, the dollar will remain at the top. The world's trust in the dollar endures despite rising competition. A world without the dollar at its center is a distant prospect. Change will be slow and generational. The global financial system is like a massive oil tanker. It turns slowly, not suddenly. The lack of a credible successor is a major barrier. Deep liquid markets and political stability are essential. China's yuan isn't fully convertible, and its markets are tightly controlled, making it an unlikely replacement soon. History shows reserve currency transitions take decades, not years. Experts predict a gradual evolution toward a multipolar system, with the dollar, euro, and yuan each dominating their regions. For most people, changes will be subtle and slow. The dollar will remain central for years to come. The journey toward de-dollarization has begun, but the destination is still far on the horizon.